In this lesson, we'll be looking at drafting the basic pattern block. The measurements we'll be using are the waist measurement, the hip measurement, waist to hip, and then the waist to knee measurement. The first thing to do, we are going to take our pattern paper and draw a box measuring half hip plus 1 inch across the shorter side of the paper, and then our waist to knee measurement, taking care to ensure that this first line, this top line, is at least 2 inches away from the edge of the paper, and this side line is another 2 inches away from the side of the paper. This line here, which is the top line, represents the waistline. Then I'm going to go down this side and measure waist to knee measurement. From this line here, I'm going to measure half hip plus 1 inch across the page. So we have our waist to the knee line here, and from here, this is our center back to the center front, and our box measurement, the width of the box measurement is half hip plus 1 inch. So now I'm going to be measuring my waist to hip measurement towards the M. So you take this measurement across, and then you draw a straight line. This is our waistline. So I'm going to write this here, waistline. This is the hip line, and this is our M, which is the waist to knee line. The next thing to do is to divide our pattern into two, into the back pattern and the front pattern. So that's going to be half of this measurement. Remember, we used half hip plus 1 inch. We are going to divide that into two to get the side seam. Label this line as our side seam. So this will be the back pattern, and this will be our front pattern. So you label this as the back and then the front. Okay, so we have our center back here, and then the center front on the other side, and our side seam on this side. Okay, so now we are going to work on our waistline here. From center back, we are going to measure quarter of our waist measurement plus 1.5 inch that, and then one quarter inch for ease. While for the front pattern, from center front, we are going to measure 1/4 waist measurement plus 1 inch that and 1/4 ease. Use our hip curve to connect the waist measurement to the hip, and then we'll extend this line up a short distance. So we'll do the same for the front and also extend it up. So now we are find our dart position on the front and the back pattern. So for the back pattern, we are going to put our dart 3.5 inches away from center back. So measure 3.5 inches, and then from that point we'll measure 1 inch dart. Remember, for the back we use 1.5 inches as our dart measurement, but right here I'm going to put 1 inch here, and then find the center point of the dart, and then put the remaining half inch dart directly at center back. So for the dart at center back, I'm going to connect the dart to the hip line. So this will give me the slanted center back. While for this dart here, I'm going to measure 3.5 inches towards the hip. So that's the depth of the dart, 3.5 inches, and then I'll connect it to the dart legs. Right there. So for the front pattern, I'm going to place the dart between 3 to 5 inches. For bigger sizes, you can place your dart 5 inches from center front, while smaller sizes will place their dart 3 inches from center front. So from this 3-inch point, I'll put my 1 inch dart and then find the middle point of that. So for the front dart, I'm going to square that down by 5 inches towards the hip line. So this is 5 inches. Then I'll connect it to the dart legs. like so. So I'm going to raise the side seam of the front and back pattern by 0.5 inches on the extended side seam line. So I have 0.5 here and then 0.5. On the back pattern, I'll be connecting this raised side seam to my center back. So while doing this, we need to make sure that the line we are drawing will not get to this point. It's going to end somewhere here, so that the center back can be straight. Curve it this way. Then for center front, I'm going to lower my waistline by 0.5 inches. And I'll draw a short I'm going to draw a short line. This is a guideline. And then connect the raised side seam to this line. So we have our basic skirt pattern. This is the back pattern, the front pattern, center front, our center back, and then our waistline. So with our 1 inch dart here, and we have 0.5 inch dart, and then 1 inch dart at the front pattern. So what we're going to do now, we're going to mark the grain lines, which is parallel to the center back and center front. So you do this by taking your ruler and then you square a line that is perpendicular to the hip line as well as the M. So this represents the straight grain. And then we'll do the same for center front. Parallel to center front. So we're going to indicate the cutting instructions. So usually for our back pattern, you can write cut 2. And then while for the front pattern, you will have cut 1. And then this part will be unfold. This is going to be cut unfold. So label this is the basic skirt pattern. So now we have to through the waist dart. Remember we raised our side seam, so we need to ensure that once we cut our pattern that the waist dart will be okay. So one thing to do, you turn your pattern to the wrong side. Okay, we'll work on the front pattern first. So and then you fold your pattern, you pinch the dart apex here. So this makes it easier in throwing your darts, in folding your darts. So either fold your dart towards the center front or you fold it towards the side seam. So I'll be folding this towards the side seam, which means that I'll fold the line closer to the side seam. I'm going to crease this line like this and then bring it here. Then I'm going to redraw the waistline. So you can see the lines don't touch. So we're going to redraw this. Redraw this and then use our tracing wheel to transfer that mark. Remember this is folded here, so we need to see the pattern on the line on the folded part. So I'll join this like this, and we'll do the same for the back pattern. So you fold it at the crease, you crease your paper at the dart apex and then also fold towards the side seam. And so whatever you do while you're drafting your pattern is what you're going to do when you're sewing. So fold this way and then also redraw the waistline. and use this tracing wheel to connect this. So you can choose to fold it this way towards center back, like this. And by the time you do this, you also get the this is the basic skirt pattern. We have the back pattern and then the front pattern.